brethren of the York Rite say in regard to them, and why they hold them to be lights of the lodge. But the sun and moon do in no sense light the lodge, unless it be symbolically. And then the lights are not they, but those things of which they are the symbols. Of what they are the symbols the Mason in that rite is not told, nor does the moon in any sense rule the night with regularity. The sun is the ancient symbol of the life-giving and generative power of the deity. To the ancients, light was the cause of life, and God was the source from which all light flowed. The essence of light, the invisible fire, developed as flame, manifested as light and splendor. The sun was his manifestation and visible image, and the Sabaeans, worshipping the light god, seemed to worship the sun, in whom they saw the manifestation of the deity. The moon was the symbol of the passive capacity of nature to produce, the female, of which the life-giving power and energy was the male.
Boy 279.
It was the symbol of Isis, Astarte and Artemis, or Diana. The master of life was the supreme deity, above both, and manifested through both. Zeus, the son of Saturn, become king of the gods. Horus, son of Osiris and Isis, become the master of life. Dionysos, or Bacchus, like Mithras, become the author of light and life and truth. The master of light and life, the sun and the moon, are symbolized in every lodge by the master and wardens, and this makes it the duty of the master to dispense light to the brethren by himself and through the wardens, who are his ministers. The sun, says Isaiah to Jerusalem, shall no more go down, neither shall thy moon withdraw itself. For the Lord shall be thine everlasting light, and the days of thy mourning shall be ended. Thy people also shall be all righteous. They shall inherit the land forever. Such is the type of a free people. Our northern ancestors worshipped this triune deity: Odin, the Almighty Father; Freya, his wife, emblem of universal matter; and Thor, his son, the mediator. But above all these was the supreme God, the author of everything that existeth, the eternal, the ancient, the living and awful being, the searcher into concealed things, the being that never changeth. In the temple of Eleusis, a sanctuary lighted only by a window in the roof and representing the universe, the images of the sun, moon, and Mercury were represented. The sun and moon, says the learned brother Delaunay, represent the two grand principles of all generations, the active and passive, the male and the female. The sun represents the actual light. He pours upon the moon his fecundating rays. Both shed light upon their offspring, the blazing star, or Horus, and the three form the great equilateral triangle, in the center of which is the omnific letter of the Kabbalah, by which creation is said to have been effected. The ornaments of a lodge are said to be the mosaic pavement, the indented tessel, and the blazing star. Mosaic pavement, checkered in squares or lozenges, is said to represent the ground floor of King Solomon's temple, and the indented tessel, that beautiful tessellated border which surrounded it. The blazing star in the center is said to be an emblem of divine providence, and commemorative of the star which appeared to guide the wise men of the East to the place of our Savior's nativity. But there was no stone seen within the temple. The walls were covered with planks of cedar, and the floor was covered with planks of fir. There was no evidence that there was such a pavement or floor in the temple, or such a bordering. In England, anciently, the tracing board was surrounded with an indented border, and it is only in America that such a border is put around the mosaic pavement. Tesserae, indeed, are the squares or lozenges of the pavement. In England also, the indented or denticulated border is called tessellated because it has 4 tassels, said to represent temperance, fortitude, prudence, and justice. It was termed the indented trassel, but this is a misuse of words. It is a tesserated pavement with an indented border round it. The pavement, alternately black and white, symbolizes, whether so intended or not, the good and evil principles of the Egyptian and Persian creed. It is the warfare of Michael and Satan, of the gods and titans, of Balder and Lok, between light and shadow, which is darkness, day and night, freedom and despotism, religious liberty, and the arbitrary dogmas of a church that thinks for its votaries and whose pontiff claims to be infallible, and the decretals of its councils to constitute a gospel. The edges of this pavement, if in lozenges, will necessarily be indented or denticulated, toothed like a saw, and to complete and finish it, a bordering is necessary. It is completed by tassels as ornaments at the corners. If these and the bordering have any symbolic meaning, it is fanciful and arbitrary. To find in the blazing star of 5 points an allusion to the divine providence is also fanciful, and to make it commemorative of the star that is said to have guided the Magi is to give it a meaning comparatively modern. Originally, it represented Sirius, or the dog star, the forerunner of the inundation of the Nile. The god Anubis, companion of Isis in her search for the body of Osiris, her brother and husband. Then it became the image of Horus, the son of Osiris, himself symbolized also by the sun, the author of the seasons and the god of time, son of Isis, who was the universal nature, himself the primitive matter, inexhaustible source of life, spark of uncreated fire, universal seed of all beings. It was Hermes also, the master of learning, whose name in Greek is that of the god Mercury. It became the sacred and potent sign or character of the Magi, the Pentalpha, and is the significant emblem of liberty and freedom, blazing with a steady radiance amid the weltering elements of good and evil of revolutions, and promising serene skies and fertile seasons to the nations after the storms of change and tumult. In the east of the lodge, over the master, enclosed in a triangle, is the Hebrew letter Yud. In the English and American lodges, the letter G is substituted for this, as the initial of the word God, with as little reason as if the letter D, initial of Dieu, were used in French lodges instead of the proper letter. Yud is, in the Kabbalah, the symbol of unity, of the supreme deity, the first letter of the holy name, and also a symbol of the great Kabbalistic triads. To understand its mystic meanings, you must open the pages of the Zohar and Sifra de Zeniotha and other Kabbalistic books, and ponder deeply on their meaning. It must suffice to say that it is the creative energy of the deity is represented as a point, and that point in the center of the circle of immensity. It is to us in this degree the symbol of that unmanifested deity, the Absolute, who has no name. Our French brethren place this letter Yud in the center of the blazing star, and in the old lectures our ancient English brethren said the blazing star or glory in the center refers us to that grand luminary, the sun, which enlightens the earth and by its genial influence dispenses blessings to mankind. They called it also in the same lectures an emblem of prudence. The word prudentia means, in its original and fullest signification, foresight, and accordingly the blazing star has been regarded as an emblem of omniscience, or the all-seeing eye, which to the Egyptian initiates was the emblem of Osiris, the creator. With the Yud in the center, it has the Kabbalistic meaning of the divine energy, manifested as light, creating the universe. The jewels of the lodge are said to be 6 in number. 3 are called movable, and 3 immovable. The square, the level, and the plum were anciently and properly called the movable jewels, because they pass from one brother to another. It is a modern innovation to call them immovable, because they must always be present in the lodge. The immovable jewels are the rough ashlar, the perfect ashlar or cubical stone, or, in some rituals, the double cube, and the tracing board or trestle board. Of these jewels, our brethren of the York Rite say the square inculcates morality, the level equality, and the plumb rectitude of conduct. Their explanation of the immovable jewels may be read in their monitors. Our brethren of the York Rite say that there is represented in every well-governed lodge a certain point within a circle, the point representing an individual brother, the circle, the boundary line of his conduct, beyond which he is never to suffer his prejudices or passions to betray him. This is not to interpret the symbols of Masonry. It is said by some with a nearer approach to interpretation that the point within the circle represents God in the center of the universe. It is a common Egyptian sign for the sun and Osiris, and is still used as the astronomical sign of the great luminary. In the Kabbalah, the point is Yod, the creative energy of God, irradiating with light the circular space which God, the universal light, left vacant, wherein to create the worlds, by withdrawing his substance of light back on all sides from one point. Our brethren add that this circle is embroidered by two perpendicular parallel lines, representing St. John the Baptist and St. John the Evangelist, and upon the top rest the Holy Scriptures, an open book. In going round this circle, they say, we necessarily touch upon these two lines